I'm writing this because the longer I keep it in my head, the louder it gets on playback. I'm a freelance sound guy, mostly podcasts and documentaries. The kind of work where you sit in the dark with bad posture and good headphones. We were in Brittany last weekend for a Halloween episode. Local legends, folk tales with real names and dates. Saturday, October 11th, 2025. I didn't believe in anything except room tone. It was me, my sister Clara, my friend Jules, and Jules's girlfriend Anais. We'd been friends for years, the kind where the silence in the car is easy. Our plan was simple: drive out to a few spots people talk about after a third drink and capture the night. That was all. That should have been all. The cottage we rented sat outside a village with a name that clung to the mouth. The kind of place where the church steeple counts your heartbeat for you. Anais was on camera, I was audio, Jules drove, and Clara, stubbornly practical, kept us on schedule. We joked about haunted bridges and saints with bad tempers. The woman who handed us the keys told us the coast was close and the fog was closer. She said it with a smile that didn't quite get past her teeth. We stopped in the bar by the church to ask for places worth recording after midnight. An older woman poured us cider and drew a map in pen on a damp napkin. She didn't say the name of the bridge until she had to, like saying it too soon might make it arrive early. La Dame Blanche, she murmured. White lady. You hear it in different towns, but always the same shape. A bride who never crossed where she was meant to cross. The woman tapped the napkin. Avoid the old stone bridge between midnight and 1. And if you must cross, leave room. We laughed. The way city people laugh when a story asks them for respect. No, she said, not laughing. Leave room, blank. Midnight found us on a road that felt sketched more than paved. Fog came like unrolled bandages over the hedges. I clipped a recorder to the armrest to catch the hum of the tires, the breathing of the engine, the way air moves when it's cold enough to make your teeth consider their place in the world. The radio slipped between stations and settled on a waltz that didn't belong anywhere. Anais filmed through the fog. Jules cracked a joke about us being the most polite monsters in Brittany, knocking on a ghost's door with a microphone. The clock on the dash ticked 12:38, and then, without fanfare, 12:37 again. We found the sign without trying, which felt like a kind of problem. Bon des dames. The letters cracked with age. The GPS flickered, the car icon turning without us, like something watching us decide. Clara cleared her throat like a signal. We should just record the bridge's ambience and go. My fingers pinched the recorder tighter. There was a smell, linen left wet too long, the sourness of drowned fabric. The road bowed down into a hollow where the fog made its own laws. Leave room, Jules said, half laughing, and loosened his seatbelt to shift. The warning chime pinged once. Then again, all the seat icons lighting like a choir raising their hands. She was there, the way a person is there. Not a trick of light, but weight and distance, and the iron in blood that makes your tongue taste like a coin. She stood at the near edge of the bridge, dress stuck to her thighs, veil like a web. She didn't look at us. She looked at the passenger door, then at the back seat, then at the door again, as if remembering steps to a dance. I felt Clara's hand find my shoulder and stay. The entire car was very quiet, even the engine, like it had leaned closer to hear if we would be the kind of people we claimed to be. I got out because I was the one who said these stories are weather, not wolves. The cold reached my bones with the efficiency of habit. Up close, she seemed younger and older at once, the way water makes everything honest. Do you need a ride? I asked in French that sounded rented. She lifted her eyes at my voice, and I felt something like a hook coming through my skin. A passage, she said. The word was a pebble dropped into a deep well. To the other side. Behind me, the seatbelt icon chimed. Another seat, not buckled. Another mouth to feed. She slid into the back seat on her own, which somehow felt worse than if we'd had to lift her. The air turned colder, heavier. She didn't smell like rot or perfume. She smelled like old water and the inside of a locked trunk. Jules reached for the belt and stopped halfway. She didn't touch it. The chime ceased anyway, like someone had blessed the car with silence. "What's your name?" Clara asked, voice smaller than I've ever heard it. The woman smiled in a shape that had nothing to do with teeth. "They forgot it," she said. "So it forgot me." I pulled away from the bridge's mouth, and the fog climbed into the car like a living thing. The bridge went on too long for how short it looked. Headlights swallowed their own light. The woman's dress leaked water onto the seat, a slow stain that reached Jules's thigh. He didn't move. "People used to walk," she said softly, conversational, as if this was a commute. "Then they hurried and forgot how to carry one another." I thought of the bartender's eyes when she said leave room. "We can let you off at the chapel," I offered, because chapels are where stories end nicely. Her gaze moved to the windshield, to where the fog made a kind of face. "If you listen," she said, "you won't need to look." The waltz found the radio again without us touching it. We reached a chapel that may have built itself just to be there that night. I rolled to a stop and looked back. She was already opening the door, already stepping onto the dirt, bare feet on pebbles, the softest sound. "Thank you," she said, and though that should have been a relief, it felt like a promise you forgot you made. She turned toward the chapel without looking at us, and when we blinked, she was only mist, and when we breathed, she was nothing at all. The stain she left on the seat remained, cold and precise, a perfect map of where a person had been who did not exist. Back at the cottage, we told each other we were fine. We made tea like that was armor. I dumped the files onto my laptop, because working would be proof that it had been only weather after all. At 2:11, with the others drifting towards sleep, I scrubbed through the take where the bridge became too long. Breath, tires, a wavering waltz, the chime. Then, under my own voice asking if she needed a ride, another voice saying my name. Not in question, not in greeting. As if waking me. It was my name, the way my mother says it when I've been stupid. While I was still trying to decide if I'd imagined it, Anais went to the door for air. She made a sound I didn't know she could make, and we all ran. The veil was pinned to the door, like a wreath somebody forgot to own. The lace was heavier than fabric has any right to be, dripping down into the doormat until it gave the illusion of breathing. There were no footprints on the step, and then two just beyond it, bare and perfect, toes pointed toward the lane. The chapel, if it had ever been there, was miles away. "We should leave," Clara said, and that was no longer a suggestion. We grabbed our things and went without cleaning up, which for Clara was proof of the emergency. The lane led us back toward the village, then toward the coast, then, without warning, toward the bridge. The same carved gargoyle in the parapet kept appearing in the rear view, then the side window, then ahead, as if the bridge had folded the whole countryside into its ribs. But dash clock said 53 minutes after midnight. Didn't it say 2 something? Jules asked, voice refusing to enter a panic it could not survive. The GPS was a compass on a table someone kept bumping with their knee. I checked the mirror out of habit and felt my throat forget its job. The back seat was empty in real space, but not in the glass. In the mirror, she sat where she had sat before, hands quiet in her lap, hair darker now with the kind of wet that isn't water. Jules cursed her under his breath, which was when the temperature took another step down. Frost spread across the inside of the windshield in a delicate rush, ferns crawling from the edges like handwriting. Don't, Anais said gently to nobody we could see. We're trying. I watched the mirror because I was afraid not to, and because every rule I could think of contradicted the others. We stopped before the bridge could stop us and got out. I don't know who said it first, but it was true when all of us said it. We carry her. Not in the car, not like passengers and drivers and debt. We slipped arms under hers, and her weight was the kind of weight grief has, light and impossible. To the far parapet, she murmured, as if giving directions to a moving van. The stones were slick as skin. Halfway across, the fog pressed closer, and the waltz rose from nowhere, like a memory adopted by the air. If you hear me fall, she said, do not look. We were almost there when something shifted in her weight, a small absence. The hole a dropped stone leaves behind. Behind us came the sound of fabric catching on stone, and a soft splash that was almost polite. Clara gasped and started to turn because she is the sort of person who helps. I caught her chin in my hand and kept her eyes on mine. Her tears were colder than they had a right to be. Don't, I said, and she stopped, and the splash unspooled into a quiet longer than it should have been. The weight returned, more present than before, as if she had been briefly elsewhere and re-chosen us. We reached the far parapet and set her down and straightened, and the act of straightening felt like leaving a version of ourselves folded on the stones. She stood. The waltz thinned. Thank you, she said again, and this time the words warmed the air by a degree. You listened, and you did not look. She took a single step backward, and the fog accepted her, as if she had always belonged to it. The road beyond the bridge was suddenly just a road, hedges and a ditch and a sign for a village we could pronounce. The car started on the first try. The clock leapt to 3:04. At first light, we were sitting in a cafe where morning made everyone kinder. The woman behind the counter listened without blinking and slid a laminated clipping across to us. In 1825, a carriage overturned on a wedding day. The bride survived the water but not the cold. Her party made it across and did not notice she was gone. The clipping should have been only weightless paper, but it leaned on my wrists. Sometimes she takes people who refuse her, the barista said, or who mock her. Sometimes she tests those who will carry her. There are many bridges and one story. We did not say the word blessed aloud, but the word hung there like steam. By the time we drove back to Paris, the world had resumed the posture of a world that believes in buses and receipts. Work emails had stacked themselves into towers that required attention. I slept a little, badly, and the cottage settled itself into story. Then, today, October 17th, a notice arrived. A speed camera ticket for the D20, time-stamped 49 minutes after midnight. Fine print in a gray little box. 5 occupants detected, 1 unbelted. The photo was grainy but generous. It showed a face in the middle of the back seat, veiled lightly, turned toward the camera with an expression that read strangely like patience. I went back into the files and did the thing I do when I don't know what else to do. I re-listened. There was a texture in the noise I'd missed. It's easy to miss a voice when it walks backward. I flipped the segment where the waltz reasserted itself and stretched it, peeled away breath, and under everything, there she was. Not a word exactly, more like a habit in the air. But if you lean your ear against it, you hear 4 syllables that could be my last name and something like "a bientôt." See you soon. Maybe once you carry someone, you owe them the courtesy of remembering. We are fine, mostly. Jules won't drive at night right now, but he says it as a joke with the edges sanded down. Anais cut together footage and put the veil on screen only briefly, the way you include a bruise in a photo to tell the truth. Clara keeps texting me pictures of bridges in daylight with captions like, "Not all of them, see?" I've slept enough nights in a row that my body trusts me again, but I keep the recorder on my nightstand as if I might need to catch something in the act of being itself. Tonight, the street filled with a fog that wasn't on the forecast, and someone left a new veil, dry, modern, not lace, folded on my chair without the sound of a door. I'm going to be polite. I'm going to carry it carefully to the closet and leave room.